You think you're a real gamer? You ain't a real gamer. You can barely hold the controller in your wee baby hands. I bet you only play games like Fortnite and Call of Duty. You're a dumb fake. You ain't an MLG Pro 420 Blazer Despacito gamer. What the fuck did you just say? Oh, so you're racist too? Hey! Hi! How you doing? This is the Gamertron, and welcome back to the Gamertron Show. No true Scotsman, or appeal to purity, is an informal fallacy in which one attempts to protect a universal generalization from counterexamples by changing the definition in an ad hoc fashion to exclude the counterexample. In layman's terms,
one of the most commonly used fallacies, especially in the current age of identity politics, is when people will often try to redefine the parameters of the group that they or their opposition are considered a member of, so as to exclude or include someone in the same group on the spot. This fallacy is known as the no true Scotsman, and can be structured a few different ways. Most commonly, A is B and said C. The fallacy would be to respond that no true B would say C, and therefore A isn't B. This is used most often by someone trying to distance themselves from a claim or action made by someone else.
I'm surprised no one else has made a video like this calling out the gaming community for this bullshit. Because the more and more you look into individual gaming communities, you see this fallacy being used time and time again. Forum posts, tweets, comments on videos. The constant accusations of, you're not a real gamer, you're not a real fan of this game. You see, I have been the target of this fallacy myself, with quite a few video games and their communities actually. Specifically, Warframe, Overwatch, and most recently, Monster Hunter World. Oh, you don't play the game the exact same way I do. Oh, you use this item or this weapon instead of this and this. You probably don't even really play the game. You probably have like only 1 hour in the game. I've heard it all, folks. I've heard it all. That being said, however, there is nothing wrong with being a little cynical, being a little cautious. This is the internet after all. There are liars and con artists around every corner. Clean Prince Gaming. Downward thrust. There is nothing wrong with healthy skepticism. But when your very first course of action when you hear someone say something about a video game and you don't like what they said about that video game, is to immediately attempt to discredit them by declaring that they did not live up to these arbitrary rules that you invented in your head that people have to follow in order to be credible and valid when discussing a particular video game. Now, to play devil's advocate and to throw the proverbial dog a bone, I 100% believe that if you are going to be making objective critiques about anything, doesn't matter what it is, if it's a video game, movie, food even, but there are certain milestones that you must pass for the sake of being reasonable, fair, and actually credible. I mean, you can't review a movie and say it's good or bad if you haven't actually watched the movie. You can't even say whether a movie is good or bad based on the first 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or even half an hour. You can't say whether or not this steak dinner you have is bad or not if you haven't taken a bite. And you can't say whether a video game is bad or not based on the first 5 or 10 minutes. One of the things I absolutely despise about the gaming community, specifically on Steam, is the abuse of Steam reviews. The amount of negative reviews on games I see time and time again where the negative review has less than an hour of gameplay time and the negative review says it's the worst thing ever. Like, fuck you, you dishonest piece of shit. That right there is an example of spreading misinformation on a game. So while the no true Scotsman fallacy is still a fallacy, I can to an extent understand, looking at the other side, see why it's being used so often. Because you see it on the internet all the time. People calling something shit, people spreading misinformation on something when they have zero experience with it. So I can understand the frustration, I can understand the usage of the no true Scotsman fallacy, but that doesn't change the fact that it's still fucking weak sauce. Now, of course, if you have legitimate evidence that someone has not actually or barely played the game and they're making some sort of review or critique, then fire the fuck away, criticize them, call them out. But again, only if you have evidence. If you don't, and you're just implying the no true Scotsman fallacy because you're emotionally compromised and making the accusation, making the fallacy based on your negative emotional response to whomever said whatever that you disagree with, well then, instead of discrediting and making the target of your ire look silly, now you've just discredited yourself and made yourself look very silly. Like a gatekeeping elitist, almost. Personal examples. I've been accused of not playing or barely playing Warframe, not being a true Warframe fan. Even though my Steam account is public and it's available for all to see that I have over 1,000 hours in Warframe and it's my most played game on Steam. And for you elitist purists out there who are not satisfied with the Steam hours, here's the in-game time hours. As you can see, I've played a lot of Warframe. So as you can imagine, it really gets under my skin when I get accused of not being a real fan, a true fan, not putting enough hours into the game. Even though my game time is public information and you can go look up for yourself instead of making false accusations. Now when it comes to a game like Overwatch, where I've been no true Scotsman on, Blizzard and Battle.net don't really make your online profile information public and there's no option to do so. So just for funsies, here's my Overwatch statistics. Now as you can see here, I have only over 60 hours in the game. I've only prestiged once, level 124, no competitive ranking, and maybe perhaps a fair argument can be made that I haven't fully experienced Overwatch until I've played competitive, and that maybe I should have put way more hours into the game before criticizing it. My counter to that would be, well, if Overwatch was less shit, I'd put more hours into it. I joke. Seriously though, if I just enjoyed the game more, if I liked the game more, I would put way more hours into it. But that's why I criticize it though, because I want to put more hours into it, and if the game's issues were addressed, I would. Or more precisely, to be fair here, if my issues were addressed. Last personal example of my no true Scotsman experiences. This last one concerning Monster Hunter World, and this one, oh, it's a doozy. Despite in my review video having a full Nergigante armor set, full Valhazak armor set, and full Xeno'jiiva armor set. For those of you who don't know, the first two are Elder Dragon endgame bosses, and the last one is the final boss of the game. And to obtain the full armor sets from these bosses, you have to replay them over and over again and grind them, and pray to RNGesus you get the resources you need to build the individual pieces of the armor set. And to top it off, public Steam account, anyone could look for themselves. And see, at the time of making my Monster Hunter review video, I had over 90 hours in the game. And yet, despite all of that, I still got accused of playing the game for only 5 hours. All because some people didn't like what I said about the game, even though what I said about the game was mostly positive. And these personal examples I've given you are one of the many reasons I despise the no true Scotsman fallacy, this bullshit purity test. And it's been going on for years. I'm sure you've all had experiences with it. Even a YouTuber as beloved and respected like Racevic, who's also a patron of mine on Patreon by the way, has even had this happen to him, and I quote, "I've once been told that 150 plus hours is not enough time to get the full enjoyment out of a game." Where does it end? That's the problem with the no true Scotsman fallacy. It just keeps going and going. The goalpost keeps getting pushed and pushed further along. You have to play the game for this many hours. You have to participate in all these activities. You have to use every single weapon and piece of armor. You have to parrot the same terminology and opinions of the community. And it just keeps going and going and going. It never fucking stops. By the standards of the no true Scotsman perpetrators. By their standards, no one can ever be a 420 Blazit MLG Pro Despacito gamer. But let's be honest here, why do people use the no true Scotsman fallacy? The no true Scotsman fallacy is used when legitimate criticism can't be issued. Instead of trying to argue your points or agree to disagree, instead your credibility is questioned. Your credibility over video games, mind you. Real first world problems here. Sometimes you have to take a step back and really put things into perspective. I've said this before and I will say it again, people are more important than video games. Now honesty and truth is also still very important, knowingly and intentionally spreading misinformation is malicious and despicable, so I am wholeheartedly behind people who criticize others who criticize things they have no experience with, creating deceptive content for cynical profit. But you don't expose, you don't criticize hacks and liars. By using the no true Scotsman fallacy on them, you do it by getting actual, credible information and evidence. No true Scotsmans just get in the way of actual legitimate argumentation and criticism. We spend so much time fighting over and trying to prove arbitrary credibility in a video game, instead of actually talking about the video games themselves, their flaws, their merits, how different types of gamers with different types of video game preferences interpret and experience different video games. The no true Scotsman fallacy is just so shallow. When has the no true Scotsman fallacy ever led to a meaningful, productive, memorable, or enjoyable conversation, discussion, dissection of video games, or of any art form or entertainment for that matter? To me, the no true Scotsman fallacy seems to be an extension of the collectivist hive mind bullshit, where individuality is scorned in favor of complying and conforming to the community groupthink. You don't have the same opinion or think the same things about a video game I do? You must not be a real gamer. You must not be a real fan of this game. It's about time this bullshit got called out. This rhetoric should not go unchallenged, and it should stop being supported and endorsed. It's wasteful, detrimental, irrational, and just plain fucking stupid. Anyways, that's been a video. I hope you liked the video. If you indeed liked the video in any way, shape, or form, please be sure to like button. Like button helps you, helps me, helps everybody involved in the video. If you hit the like button, please leave a comment in the comment section down below. What are your thoughts, feelings, opinions on the topic of this video? Let me know your thoughts, feelings, opinions in the comment section down below. I love reading comments, getting nearly enough comments. Please leave a comment. If you want to help out and support this video, then please share it on social media, Twitter and Facebook. If you want to help out and support me directly, well, there's always Patreon. Anyways, guys, that's been a video, and I'll see you all later.